Moises Caicedo. Is he going to get his move?
Unless Brighton completely changed their stance, then it looks like he's staying put. We know Arsenal came in with that £60 million bid on Friday, immediately rejected by Brighton. The stance has stayed the same throughout the window, even when Chelsea made a verbal bid of around £55 million. Moises Caicedo is not for sale. Arsenal then came back on Sunday with a £70 million bid, £65 million initial payment, £5 million in add-ons. Again, immediately rejected by Brighton. The stance unchanged. Moises Caicedo is not for sale. He's expected back in training with Brighton on Wednesday. They've got today and tomorrow off following the FA Cup victory against Liverpool yesterday. And I think then the head coach, Roberto De Zerbi, will assess if he's OK to play against Bournemouth on Saturday. So it looks like it's almost impossible that it is going to happen, but we're approaching the final few hours and, you know, funny things can happen at the end of a transfer window. It looks like Arsenal, though, are still looking at other options. There are reports that they may be looking at Jorginho from Chelsea, so that's one. But I think Brighton have made it clear, not only to everyone that he's not for sale, but I think they made it categorically clear to Arsenal as well, don't bother bidding because he is not going to go anywhere. And I think Brighton's attitude towards him has been quite different to what it was towards Leandro Trossard, because when Roberto De Zerbi was speaking about Trossard, there was an obvious falling out. Yeah. But every time De Zerbi speaks about Caicedo, he's a good guy. But I think Arsenal might have been given some sort of encouragement yesterday, hence why they might have gone with that bid, even though it was made clear to them, don't bother, simply because what Roberto De Zerbi was saying in some of his interviews was, yeah, we want him to stay until the summer, but we can move forward without him. Maybe Arsenal thought, well, has the stance changed? Evidently not. So it would have to change drastically with what's left of this time of this transfer window. And you've got to think about what Brighton can do as well in that time to try and bring in a replacement.
Is Caicedo a £70 million plus player?
Well, I think he is, because Arsenal are willing to pay £70 million for him. But I think what you're saying is this is a guy who, what was it, 2 years ago, Brighton signed for £4 million. Then he went out on loan to a club in Belgium. He's come back. He's only played 26 league games for Brighton. And within 26 league games, his value has gone from £4 million to £70 million. Now, I know that seems incredible, especially people in Europe looking at what's happening in the Premier League these past few months, the incredible prices that are being paid for players. But that is the state of the market at the moment. And my own personal opinion is that it is getting to a stage where it is getting ludicrous, and people around the world are watching the kind of money being thrown around and finding it really, really hard to believe. Because I was just saying to Dharmesh this afternoon, a couple of years ago, players wanted to move to clubs who were in the Champions League. Yeah. Now, players just want to move to clubs who are in the Premier League. That's all they care about. So you've got João Gomez at Wolves. He could have gone to Lyon, who are in Europe every season, but he wants to move to the Premier League. So you can understand why a lot of people in Europe and in UEFA, around the world as well, are getting really, really worried about the power of the Premier League.
Has the world gone mad, Roy? £4 million for Caicedo 2 years ago, 26 games, £70+ million being rejected. Is it bonkers?
Well, I think what Kaveh says is absolutely spot on. It's what the market dictates for you, what the market will bear. I think it's very good if you're Benfica, either the selling club or River Plate, no doubt too, because they've sold lots of players over the years. You know, you start to rub your hands when a Premier League club comes in, and you're not quite so interested if a Belgian or a Swiss or a Polish club comes in for your players, because there's the money, you're not going to be able to demand those sums of money. I suppose all the time the money's there, this is the way it's going to be spent. But it's always going to beg that question that you've asked twice now: is it worth it? You know, how can you really decide what people are worth? But I think the important point, and Dharmesh made some very good points, I thought, about Caicedo earlier, and what De Zerbi was saying, if he doesn't really want to go to Arsenal, and if he really does want to go there, this is his dream, yeah, and the club are going to say, you are not going, despite 70 million, then you have to be quite a good guy to shrug all that off and in 3 days' time go out and give the sort of performance Brighton would expect from him. That isn't always the case. So it's a delicate balance. I feel sorry for clubs. You want to keep your best players. This big offer comes in. The player wants to go. Really, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You sell him and the crowd will go, oh, we should have kept him. You don't sell him and he doesn't play so well afterwards. People say, how the hell could you turn down £70 million?
Roy, who'd be a football manager?
Exactly.
What a job.